It's about that time of year again where all the major watch releases have happened. All the major watch releases are over and Christmas is fast upon us. So as per tradition, I thought I'd do the top 20. It's actually 18, but it doesn't sound as good as top 20 for YouTube reasons. So I thought I'd just do the sexiest watches over the last year. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison, as always, and I love these videos. I love reflecting on the amazing watches that have been released throughout the year because I feel like a lot of the time we get lost in the plethora of watches and forget, what happened about 5 or 6 months ago. I mean, everyone seems to have forgotten about the Tudor Black Bay GMT Coke, which was like massive at the time. So it's good to kind of revitalize our memory. Now, what I'm gonna try and do today is do every single watch within a minute. So I'm actually gonna get a timer out and try and do this video in 20 minutes from when I set the timer, okay? Am I gonna succeed? Probably not, but let's try it. Timer set for 1 minute. Let's start with the first watch. The first watch we're going to talk about is the Vacheron Constantin Overseas 3-hand with the green dial. Now, this was released at Watches and Wonders this year and was honestly one of the most beautiful watches that I had the privilege to hold and feel at Watches and Wonders. The green dial has the same kind of electric flare that you see in the blue 3-hand, but of course, being full gold, this is a lot more expensive. It comes in at £58,500 if you can get it new, but obviously Vacherons are very limited and very rare, and they're quite hard to get at the moment. The bracelet and the whole concept behind the Overseas is just phenomenal. Now, the specs of this watch are very, very pleasant. I mean, it comes in at 41 millimeters in diameter, 10.69 millimeters in thickness. Of course, it's fully automatic and comes in 18 karat 5N pink gold. It has an in-house beautiful movement, which is visible through the open case back. And there's definitely a correlation between... Oh, God. I'm just going to keep going. We're definitely not going to succeed at this. So there's definitely a correlation between the thickness of the watch and the value of the watch. What you find is watches that have fully automatic movements that are really, really thin are normally a lot more expensive. Okay, so we definitely went over time for that one, but let's set the timer again. Let's talk about the next watch. So the next watch is the Hamilton Khaki Field Murph white dial. This comes in at 38 millimeters and is just... Maybe it's my thing with the white dials. It probably is my thing with the white dials, but I thought this was just super sexy. Now, I'm not a fan of the leather strap, but I am a fan of the white dial. It just looks so vintagely brilliant. The tanned hands, the big bold numerals just blend in perfectly with that dial. So let's cover the specs really quickly because we are on a time frame. It comes in at 38 millimeters in diameter, 11.1 millimeters in thickness. It has 80 hours of power and it has the H10 movement. It's water resistant to 100 meters and it's just aesthetically gorgeous. Now, it's not the legitimate tribute to the Interstellar movies because it doesn't have Eureka on the second hand and it's not the watch, the kind of true homage to the watch that was used in the movies. We've definitely gone over time in that one again. I do apologize, but it is still an absolutely unbelievably sexy model, and it does give a good point of difference from the black dial. An interesting thing is happening with the Khaki Field Murph range in that they're kind of becoming their own subcategory of the Khaki Field. It's a bit like the Omega Seamaster 300 meters, the Omega Seamaster Aquaterra, etc., etc. It's becoming its own little family, and having this white dial has extended that family, which is a really nice touch. Okay, so that's 2 fails at the moment. Let's set the timer and get on to the next one. The next watch is the Citizen Super Titanium. This has the beautiful blue, or kind of like light blue dial, but there's also a white dial and other variations you can go for. This watch has a beautiful 70s inspired-esque theme around it and is super, super light due to it being super titanium. It comes in at 41 millimeters, has sapphire crystal glass, has a water resistance of 100 meters, and of course, being super titanium, it is made from super titanium. This is kind of like a PRX, but different in a lot of ways. It's like Citizen's flair of the PRX. It also has a small seconds at the kind of just about the 5 and 6 mark, which is really, really nice. However, it does throw the dial off axis a little bit, but I did love this watch when it got released. I did absolutely adore this watch when it got released. Now, it comes in at about £499, so it ain't cheap, but it's a sexy watch. Definitely check it out. And I think I just succeeded with literally 0 minutes, 0 seconds to go. I succeeded. Next watch. I'm definitely going to fail this time. 1 minute starts now. Okay, so the next watch on the list is the Omega Aquaterra Black Lacquer Dial. 3 different sizes were released. You have a 41, a 38, and you also have a 34. Each of these watches are aesthetically brilliant, and I would personally go for the 38. So let's talk about the specs of the 38. The 38mm Aquaterra comes in at 38mm, of course, 12.3mm in thickness, 45.1mm lug to lug, and 19mm between those lugs. This is such a super, super sexy model. It's also relatively boring, but that makes it brilliant. Brilliant but boring, boring but brilliant. It's just really aesthetically nice to look at. It's a bit like the Rolex Datejust had an upgrade and was less expensive and was available to buy. I just think this is such a sexy model. Now, we actually had a debate on the channel, and I'd like your help about this, on the nickname of this watch. I came up with the Black Stallion. People hated it. Oh, God. Let's just ignore that. I came up with the Black Stallion. People hated it. People came up with the Black Pearl. There's been tons of different nicknames, but let me know what you would nickname this watch. I think Black Pearl is a pretty good one. Okay, and a 3, 2, 1. Next up, we have the brand new Omega Speedmaster Anniversary Series. Now, there's 3 iterations. They're all the same watch, but there's 3 strap variants of this watch. You have a brown leather strap, a black leather strap, and also the bracelet. The bracelet being my personal favorite, but I'd probably switch it onto a NATO. Now, the dial on this watch is sublime. It's this gray blue dial, which aesthetically looks unbelievable. I cannot wait to get this into the studio. And actually, as of us filming this, it was released today, so it's quite appropriate we talk about it. It is jaw-droppingly beautiful. Now, this comes in at 39.7mm in diameter, and it also comes in at 13.4mm in thickness, 48mm lug to lug, and 19mm between those lugs. Now, the dial and the glass and also the case back being closed is all tributed or a tribute to the original moon watch, the one that was the first watch in space on the moon. And all those design flares have been taken from there to make a brilliant homage. So definitely check this one out. It's super, super sexy. Definitely gets quite far up the top of the list. And go. Okay, so next up we have another watch from Omega, because I thought I'd group them all together with the Omega Speedmaster White Dial. Honestly, it's like a sapphire sandwich, a normal sapphire sandwich, but it has a white dial, and this is going to be my next watch. I've made a video about it, but I just bought a very expensive camera, which I shouldn't have done, but I did it because I'm a photographer. That's what I am. So I did get that, so it's going to take a little bit of a while to save back up for this watch, but honestly, super sexy. The step dial gives it so much depth. It has those little red flares, a black bezel, and it just all round looks unbelievable. So let's cover the specs really, really quickly. It comes in at 42mm in diameter. It comes in at 47.5mm lug to lug, and the thickness comes in at 13.2mm, the same as the previous Speedmaster we just talked about. It has a Koskin Metas manual wound movement, and we don't have time to go into that, but there is a video if you want to see that. And I just love everything about this watch. I can't believe we did it. We actually talked about a watch and didn't go over time. So next up, we're going to dive into Longines, and Longines have had so many different bangers this year, but we're going to talk about a couple in particular. And 1, 2, 3 stars. So the first watch is the Longines Conquest Chrono, their answer to the Rolex Daytona or Zenith Chronomaster Sport or Omega Speedmaster. And they definitely knocked it out of the park. This thing is unbelievable. Now, there's tons of variations you can go for, but let's just talk about the green dial just for argument's sake. The green dial comes in at 42mm in diameter. It also comes in at 14.3mm in thickness, 50.2mm lug to lug, and it has a water resistance of 10 bar. Longines as a brand has just released banger after banger, and this chrono model looks unbelievable on the wrist. Now, I'd like to see it that little bit smaller, but I can't deny that this definitely makes the top watches of 2024 because it's just aesthetically gorgeous. And it kind of just continued on the Longines banger streak, and I've only got 4 seconds left, so let's move on. Next up, we have the Longines Spirit Zulu Time in titanium. This watch really shocked me when I got it in, partially because it was so bloody light. I felt like I wasn't even holding a luxury watch, but also because of the quality of the polishing of the metal. I feel like everything about Longines in terms of quality has just been stepped up, including their sizes and their colors, which is really, really cool to see. This watch comes in at 39mm in diameter, 13.5mm in thickness, 46.8mm lug to lug, and it comes in at a weight of about 95 grams because of the titanium finish, which is bizarre for a luxury watch, but also pretty cool. I feel like everyone needs at least one precious metal or titanium watch in their collection, just as a point of difference, you know? It's pretty special. Now, I absolutely love this. I thought the sizing was brilliant. I thought the polishing was brilliant. I thought the dark aesthetic was absolutely unbelievable. Next up, we have the Longines Conquest, and this one is just a plain Jane, but a beautiful plain Jane. This comes in at 38 millimeters. You have tons of different colors to choose between, but my personal favorite, bizarrely, is I think the champagne gold looking dial. I know that that's weird. I know that it's bizarre, but it's honestly really, really sexy when you get it on. Now, this watch does come in at 10.9 millimeters in thickness, 46.8 millimeters lug to lug, and 19 millimeters is the lug distance. This is a super sexy watch, and if you're looking for a Rolex Datejust, but don't have that money and don't want to wait, this is absolutely where to go. It's got an automatic movement, the caliber L888, and it's just a really sexy watch, and I don't want to go over time, so that's it. The timer is set, and we're talking about the new Seiko Shogurai. There's 3 variations to choose between, and I think the reason that this was so popular in 2024 was because it was a hybrid splice between the shotgun and the samurai. They merged together to make this really odd, but really cool hybrid baby. Now, you do have a black variant with tanned indices and hands and kind of more vintage aesthetic. Now, that is actually a Chisholm Hunter exclusive, which sold out straight away. With that said, we might have them back into stock soon, so that will be honestly unbelievable. So click the link below if you want to get your hands on them. There's then a burgundy version, which is a lot, but still very, very cool, and then a plain black with more white version. That is also awesome. It comes in at 41.7 millimeters in diameter, 12.3 millimeters in thickness, and a case length of 49.5 millimeters. The alarm has just gone off, but we're just going to keep on talking because this watch is epic. It has a fully automatic movement, which is the caliber 4R35, and it has 41 hours of power. It comes in at about £560 if you want the burgundy bracelet version. Now, the burgundy, I've not had it on, but I actually think this would wear a lot nicer than it looks in the photos. Renders online just never give watches justice. Never give watches justice. And I do have a burgundy watch on, so that's why I think this could be actually very nice. And on that note, what is on your wrist today? Please let me know in the comments. I love seeing all the weird and wonderful watches that you guys have on. We're building such an incredible watch community. So guys, thank you so much, and let me know in the comments. And when you do, if you could hit that subscribe button. Subscribe button? Subscribe? Never say that word. Subscribe. It'd be great. I tell you what, Caroline, the person that edits these videos, is going to have a heart attack when she knows that I failed literally every single challenge in terms of the timer. But we're going to keep doing it just to laugh at my failure. So the next watch is the Chronomat BO142 millimeters from Breitling. This watch, when it was released, when I got it on the wrist, honestly, my first thoughts were, it's too big, it's too bold, I'm unsure. Got it on the wrist, totally changed my opinion. Totally changed my opinion. It is so Breitling and so futuristic. I absolutely loved it. So let's talk about the specs. This watch comes in at 42 millimeters in diameter, 15.1 millimeters in thickness. So yes, it is damn thick. It's water resistant to 200 meters and has approximately 70 hours of power reserve with the Breitling 01 manufacturer caliber, which of course is fully automatic. Now, yes, this is a bloody thick model. It is not for the faint-hearted. It's probably slightly too big for my wrists, but in terms of the finishing, in terms of the design flares that they've put into this, just in terms of the whole aesthetic, the whole aesthetic of Breitling, it's a really sexy watch. And the colors, especially the kind of more coppery bronze color, again, weird thing for me, but I really, really like it. I really like that color. I'm going to say something that I'm going to get shot for. I think that that's going to be the new green. I think this is a color that we're going to see a lot more of, and it isn't going anywhere. And yeah, I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. This is actually really fun, by the way, doing this via timer. Let me know if you want me to do this more, because it's actually getting the adrenaline going. I feel like I don't need coffee anymore. Timer is reset, and we're going on to Tudor. We've got 3 models from Tudor to get through, because for some reason, after Watches and Wonders, everyone forgets the watches that have been released. So this is the Tudor Black Bay GMT Coke, the one that we all wanted, and then the one that nobody talked about afterwards, which was strange. It was kind of overshadowed by the monochrome, but we'll get onto that in a second. Now, the Coke obviously has that iconic bezel with the red and the black, and it has tan numerals, making it really vintage-esque and inspired, and just Not screaming too loud, but still drawing the eye. This model comes in at 39mm and it comes in at 12.8mm in thickness. The caliber is the caliber MT5450-U, and this is Kosk and Metas certified. Now, something that you will see Tudor doing over the years is distributing that Metas certified movement out to everything. Now, last year, for example, we saw it in the Black Bay Burgundy, which isn't this one, but it was the Black Bay Burgundy that was put into. Shut up. This time we had it in the Black Bay Monochrome and obviously the GMT, and next year they'll just keep expanding that brilliant movement out to more and more models. Now, this watch does come in at around about £4,000. It's just under £4,000 at £3,960. But for your money, you're getting a Kosk and Metas certified movement from Tudor, which is unbelievable. Like seriously unbelievable. Right, next up, let's see if I can do this in a minute. And a 3, 2, 1, go. Next up, we have the Tudor Black Bay Monochrome. Now, this watch was simplistic beauty at the max. This is a testament to not having to change too much to an already pretty perfect formula. This watch, of course, has the Kosk and Metas certified movement in it. It comes in at 41mm, comes in full stainless steel. You do have a couple of strap variations to choose between. The bracelet is absolutely sexy. It's water resistant to 200 meters, has a case thickness of 13.6mm, has 70 hours of power. Oh, I can't do this anymore. This is so draining. But yeah, it's overall an extremely sexy package. And it's one of those watches that you can just wear forever. It's never going to date. You can wear it with anything. It's just the perfect all-round, versatile player of a watch. And I think that's why it overshadowed the Coke in the kind of weeks after Watches and Wonders. What you saw was this boom as soon as Watches and Wonders happened. I'll just exit that timer. What you saw was this boom as soon as Watches and Wonders happened around the Coke, because that was the new exciting toy. But then in terms of buying pattern, a lot more people went for the monochrome because it's more simplistic. It's more wearable. And that's why it was so popular. I failed that one, Caroline. I do apologize. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying my best. The next watch was a boutique edition for Tudor, and it is the Tudor Black Bay Chrono in blue. Looks very like the Black Bay Chrono in black and white, but this time it's in blue. And it was honestly kind of a weird boutique edition because normally boutique editions are a little bit obscure. They draw the eye, but they don't draw as many customers. Whereas this was really, I hate sounding businessy, but it was very commercial. Like everybody likes blue. So it was kind of weird. It was kind of a good boutique edition. Now, this watch does come in at 41mm. It has a Kosk MT5813 movement, and it is still quite thick. It does come in at 14.4mm in thickness. And we're going to pause that there because I'm definitely going to fail again if I don't pause it here. I just know that I'm going to fail this one that I'm about to talk about because I've got a lot to say, but let's try it. Next up is the Omega CK859 Olympic Edition. That was a 9, not a mime. I did mispronounce that a little bit. Now, an interesting thing happened with the CK859, the original CK859. It was in production for about 6 months and then discontinued, and Omega said nothing about it being discontinued and nothing about really the release. It wasn't really marketed, and it gained so much popularity because of the unique, stealthy, vintage aesthetic. Those anodized blue hands looked awesome. Now, for the Olympic Games, they brought this watch back, and people fell in love with it. Now, I wouldn't buy it because I don't have a link to the Olympic Games. I love the Olympics. I think it's a great achievement, but I don't want to have a sentimental link to the Olympic Games. I'm just going to turn this off. And so I like this watch, but I wouldn't get this watch, and that's the reason. With that said, I do know people that have been in the Paralympics and the Olympics, and they've both messaged me wanting this watch, so I get the attachment. Now, a really cool thing about this watch was the metal that was used actually contains gold, silver, and bronze, and that's, of course, to incorporate the bronze, silver, and gold for first, second, and third. It's really cool. It has most of the same designs as the original CK859, apart from the metal and some minor tweaks here and there, like the closed case backs with the display on it. But this was a seriously, unbelievably sexy watch. And I really hope, actually, that they release this in terms of like a run-of-the-mill watch, that they aren't just going to limit, or they're not going to put anything on the back of it. Just like a Speedmaster. Like, release this as one of your key lines. I think that would be awesome. I wonder how many of these I've failed versus passed. I think I've failed most of them, to be honest. Next up, We have the Tissot PRX, and we have a pretty brilliant version because it is the carbon version. Now, Tissot did release the gradient version, which is when you have a gradient on the dial that kind of goes from light to dark or dark to light. But they also kind of, more below the radar, released the carbon version, which has a carbon finish and a carbon looking dial. It's honestly... It's nice. It's really sexy. It kind of went below the radar, but it's good. Let's talk about the specs really quickly. This watch comes in at 40.5 millimeters in diameter, 11.2 millimeters in thickness, and the length comes in at 40 millimeters. It, of course, has the Powermatic 80 movement, which we all know and love. It has this beautiful carbon textured dial and case to this watch. And based on how you reflect it in light, how you look at it, that changes. And that's really, really cool. But of course, because it is in carbon, it is that little bit more expensive. Okay, I failed that one as well. It does come in at £960 comparatively to the around about £640 from memory that the normal PRX Powermatic 80s come in at. But you do get carbon, which is super cool, super lightweight, super durable, and a really cool black strap. It's a nice aesthetic. Would I get it? Probably not, but it still makes the list because it's awesome. That's just my, I don't like black carbon as much. That's my just personal preference, but everyone has their own. Okay, the timer has started, and now we're talking about the Christopher Ward C60 Trident Luminaire, or Luminor, maybe. I can't remember. Now, this new watch uses Global Light XP, which is copyrighted, and it's an ultra bright super luminova. It's a luminescent ceramic invented by Exenoprint. I'm going to put this up on the screen because I have no idea how to pronounce that. But the producers of Super Luminova, the C60 Trident Luminaire's indices, hands, and applied logo are almost entirely sculpted from this brilliant material. And when you look at this watch in the dark, it's honestly unbelievable. This is the main selling point for me of this watch, as well as a really super sexy kind of aesthetic. It is just really cool. It kind of almost looks 3D in a way, and I remember Tudor using this in one of their dials. I can't remember specifically which one it is. I think it was the Black Bay Pro. It was almost like a 3D printed effect. I've just failed. It was almost like a 3D printed effect for the Lume because it didn't have a kind of skirting around the outside of it, so it looked 3D. It was super cool, but this watch essentially has the same thing. Now, there are a couple of variations to choose between. You do have a blue, you do have an orange dial, and you do have a grey looking dial. These watches come in at 41 millimeters in diameter, 10.85 millimeters in height, and lug to lug of 47.9 millimeters. The case material is in titanium, and that means it's super, super lightweight. The C60 Trident, actually Christopher Ward as a brand, let's just generalize, are really crushing it. They're really doing some cool stuff. And we actually had the CEO of the podcast on our podcast, the Into the Mind podcast. So if you want to listen to what Mike France had to say on our podcast, then fire across to there and have a listen. He's a really cool guy, and I got some really good information out of him that I think you guys will like. Okay, let's try and not fail this last one. I mean, it's the last one. Let's try and do it. Right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, so the next watch is the Tag Heuer Professional Aquaracer 300 meter date. This has a new COSC certified movement, and Tag have been really honing in on the quality of their dials, their production, and their movements. They're trying to get away from the stigma of being a fashion-orientated brand. I personally never thought they had that in the first place, but I think that they're kind of proving that they're not that with what they're kind of innovating. Now, the dial on this watch, the kind of wave pattern running through this dial is absolutely unbelievable. The light reflects through it and it looks absolutely incredible. It comes in at 42 millimeters in diameter, 12 millimeters in thickness, and has a water resistance of 300 meters, and of course has a fully ceramic bezel. Now, this is honestly unbelievable, and they also released a GMT model if you would like something a little bit different. Failed. But anyway, it's a super, super sexy model, and I love that Tag are stepping away from that kind of stigma and focusing really on the quality of their movements, of kind of getting those certificates that all the watch enthusiasts love and kind of want now. And when you have brands like Tudor that are stepping up to COSC and META certified movements for their price, then everyone needs to up their game. So it's only a good thing that happens. And that's us, guys. Honestly, I think I might create a part 2 to this because there's so many other watches that I didn't get to cover. If you want to see that, click below and leave a comment. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys real soon.